ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं साद्वदूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
जय श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री पाद की जय। Okay, we stopped here and Narada said, Komal Mataji, would you like to start reading?
Yes, Mataji, I'll read. Narada said, the saintly Maladvaja divided his kingdom among his sons. He retired to Kulachala to focus exclusively on devotional service to Krishna. As moonlight follows the moon, his devoted wife renounced her home and family to follow him. In Kulachala were several sacred rivers, Chandravasa, Tamraparni, and Vatodaka. Malayadvaja would regularly bathe in these to purify himself within and without. He ate frugally from wild produce and underwent severe austerity, gradually becoming emaciated. In time, the king rose above duality, becoming equal in heat and cold, happiness and distress, the pleasant and the unpleasant, and impervious to the elements. By worship, austerity, and yoga, he conquered his senses, controlled his breathing, and fixed his mind on Krishna. He sat immovable for 100 celestial years and developed pure love for the Lord. Malayadvaja attained perfect knowledge, perceiving how Krishna is all pervading as the Supersoul and realizing his own identity as a soul, distinct from the body. In this pure state, Malayadvaja received direct instruction from the Supersoul, enabling him to understand how to engage everything in Krishna's loving service. He realized his eternal loving relationship with Krishna and Krishna's love for him. Seeing himself and the Supersoul seated next to each other, he no longer had any interest separate from Krishna's. In this consciousness, the material world became the spiritual world for Malayadvaja. Recognizing his husband's spiritual advancement, his queen accepted him as equal to the Supreme. She also renounced sensual enjoyment and fully engaged in his service, adopting all the principles he followed. She wore old garments and let her hair become tangled and knotted. Lean and thin due to her austerities, always silent, she remained near her husband, as steady and undisturbed as a flame in a windless place. For a long time, Queen Vedharbi served her husband as he sat in yogic trance. One day, as she massaged his feet, she noticed they were cold. She realized his soul had departed and became distraught, like a doe which has lost its mate. Widowed and alone in the forest, she lamented and fell weeping to the ground, her tears soaking her breasts. In her grief, she called out to her husband, "O best of kings, please rise. In your absence, the world is infested with rogues and robbers and is very much afraid. It is your duty to protect me." That most obedient wife fell down at her dead husband's feet and cried pitifully in the solitary forest. She then placed firewood all around his body and set light to it, preparing to hurl herself into the flames. Just at that moment, an elderly Brahmin appeared there. He was Puranjana's old friend who began to pacify her with gentle words. "My dear lady, who are you? Whose wife or daughter are you? Who is this man? It seems you are lamenting for his dead body." Vedarbi wiped her eyes and looked up at the Brahmin's concerned face. He said, "Do you not remember me? I am your eternal friend. You may remember that many times in the past you consulted me." Weatherby looked confused. She shook her head and asked, "Who are you? I know you cannot recognize. I know you cannot recognize me, but can you not remember that you once had a very intimate friend? Unfortunately, you gave up my company and came to the material world to enjoy. Dear gentle friend, you and I are like two swans. We live together in the same heart, which resembles the Manasa lake. Although we have traveled together for thousands of years, we are still far from home. Forgetting me, you have become increasingly materialistic, moving through countless bodies in this world, which was created by a woman called Maya. In the city of the body, you found 5 gardens, 9 gates, 3 apartments, 6 families, 5 stores, 5 material elements, a protector, and a woman who's the lord of the house. The gardens are the 5 sense objects. The protector is the life air, which passes through 9 gates: the 2 eyes, the 2 ears, mouth, 2 nostrils, genital, and rectum. The 3 apartments are the chief ingredients: earth, fire, and water. The 6 families are the mind and 5 senses: sight, taste, smell, sound, and touch. The 5 stories are the working senses. They transact their business through the combined forces of the 5 elements, which are
Stores. The 5 stores.
they transact the 5 stores. Yeah, sorry, eternal. Behind all this activity is the soul, who is a person and factually the master. However, because he is now hidden in the city of the body, he is devoid of knowledge of his true self. Dear friend, when you entered this body along with the woman of material desires, you became overly absorbed in sense enjoyment and forgot your spiritual life. Only due to material conceptions do you suffer miserable conditions. In truth, you are not Vidarbha's daughter, nor Malayapaja's wife, nor indeed were you King Puranjana in your last life. You are simply a soul entrapped in the body of 9 gates. Sometimes you think you're a man and sometimes a woman, or even a eunuch. This is due to your occupying different bodies created by the illusory energy, which is my potency. Actually, both you and I are pure spiritual personalities. Please try to understand this truth. Since we are both spiritual beings, you and I are not different in quality. You mean we are the same person? Asked Weatherby. The Brahmin shook his head. Try to understand. We are both spirit. The same qualitatively, but not quantitatively. As a spiritual spark, you can be overcome by the illusory energy. I'm the all powerful source of all energies and am never deluded by the material creation. Rather, I control Maya. Weatherby said, I'm confused. What does it mean that we are one in quality but not quantity? The elderly Brahmin spotted a clay pot of water near where Malayadvaja would sit to meditate. He told Weatherby to look inside it. Staring back at her was her own image reflected in the water. The Brahmin said, Do you see anyone? Yes, replied Weatherby, myself. Is the person in the water pot the same as you in every way? Can the image of you cook or think or speak? No, of course not. So your image is you in one sense, but not you in another. It is not as full or great as the original you, but still your image is you. Do you now understand how you and I are one in quality but different in quantity? I think so. You are the original with all power, and I'm your limited reflection. The Brahmin smiled. Yes, let me give you another example. He turned to the blazing funeral pyre. Flames leapt up and small sparks flew in all directions. He said, See these flames and sparks? Are they the same? Well, yes, said Weatherby. They are both the same fire. The Brahmin nodded. Then he extinguished a spark fallen on the ground with his foot. Could I have done that to this huge flame? He asked, pointing to the fire. Weatherby shook her head. So the flame and spark are the same, because they are both fire. But the spark is small and can be extinguished, unlike the flame. For the same reason, you, the individual spirit soul, and I, the supreme soul, are one in quality but different in quantity. Is it clear? The queen nodded. The old Brahmin continued. So it is that you and I reside within the heart like two pure white swans. When one swan is instructed by the other, he remembers his true identity and regains his original Krishna consciousness, long lost due to material attraction. Prachinbari leaned back. What a wonderful exchange between the Lord and the Queen. He too longed to meet his old friend in the same way. Narada smiled at him. My dear Prachinbari, I have related this allegory about Puranjana because the Lord likes to instruct people indirectly. My purpose is to give you spiritual guidance. Try to understand the deeper meaning of the story, and you will become free of all material attachment and achieve liberation. Chapter
Hi. Any comments or questions on this chapter? Would you like to meet your old friend also?
Yes. Mataji, this was so similar to Prithu Maharaj and Archie.
True.
Like, I was thinking of the same context.
The wife being dedicated and
Yes, Mataji.
the husband leaving before the wife. And I was thinking how in India also, when you see there are so many widows, somehow women, they kind of outlast their husbands, they live longer. So usually you'll see that men pass away and then the women remain. So in India we have millions of widows. I was just thinking of this, that thing, just the body of a woman is kind of, usually it's not the opposite. I mean, many stories we see, first the husband passes away. Even in Pandu's case, of course Pandu was cursed, but still. Sometimes they live together, but usually they used to jump. I'm thinking also why, like, you remember Prithu Maharaj, Archie jumped into the fire, right? Or she didn't? Can't remember now. Something else we were
Yes,
reading, seven. Who jumps into fire?
Archie.
Archie, she jumps, right? This here we don't see her jumping. I don't know.
Yeah. She's still having a conversation with this super soul.
Maybe she's also going to jump. Yeah, first they lament and then they experience so much grief that the grief is even more intense or something like that. Yeah. The what do you say, the separation is so much intense that the fire, physical fire burning them, is nothing in comparison with their fire of separation. Okay, Rasastali Mataji is unable to read because she has a sore throat. Oh, I'm sorry, Mataji. What about Rajesh or Radhika Mataji? Are you able to read?
We'll try.
Oh, you also have sore throat.
Well, I'll try a little bit.
I can't hear. Is Rajesh or Radhika Mataji reading?
Yeah, I was reading, but I was muted. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Chapter 29, Narada explained his allegory. Narada concludes his instruction to King Prachinbari, who then retires to practice spiritual life. Prachinbari sat in stern silence for some moment. He was in a terrible predicament. Jara and Chandavika would soon be calling. What should he do? Certainly, he was still attached to material enjoyment. The key was in Narada's allegory, but it must have eluded him. He folded his palms and said, My lord, I could not completely appreciate the meaning of your story. Those perfect in spiritual knowledge can surely understand, but I am addicted to materialistic activity and found it difficult to fathom. That said, let me explain. The name Puranjana means one who enjoys possessing all types of body. According to his karmic destiny, he will sometimes have a ghostly body which is said to be one-legged. Other times he will have a two-legged human body, or when he is old and using a walking stick, he is still to have three legs. He will also get other types of body with four legs or with many legs like insects or an octopus. Sometimes he will get a serpent body with no legs. The unknown friend Avijanta is the super soul, the living being's master and eternal friend, since he cannot be perceived by the material senses or mind. He remains unknown to the conditioned soul. When the deluded soul wants to enjoy material pleasure fully, out of the many types of body, he prefers that which has nine gates. This is either the human or celestial body, which have nine apartments, two arms, and two legs. The young woman whom Puranjana accepted as his queen represent contaminated intelligence, or in other words, ignorance. Under its influence, one misidentifies with the material body, thinking this is I and this is mine. Due to this material consciousness, one enjoys and suffers through his senses and become entrapped by the karmic consequences. The queen's male friends are the five knowledge acquiring senses and the five active senses. Her girlfriends are the actions of the senses. The five headed serpent guarding her is Pran, the life force. Why is Pran described in that way? Narad said the soul is merged into the life air or prana, which moves in the body like a serpent. Pran has five types of circulation: prana, pan, udan, vayan, and saman. For this reason, it is described as a five headed serpent. Prachin Bhari said, I have heard previously that there are 10 types of life air. I just want to mention this thing. This pran air, like when you speak about this kundalini, na, it's mentioned as the same. That chakra form, this serpent like a kundalini. Prachin Bhari said, I have heard previously that there are 10 types of life air. Yes, replied Nar, that the five I mentioned are the principal life airs. The others are secondary and therefore I have not mentioned them. Let me continue with my explanation. The 11th attendant, who is the commander of the other, is the mind, which direct the knowledge acquiring and active senses. The kingdom of Panchala is the field of enjoyment, or in other words, the five types of enjoyable sense objects, within which is the city of nine gates: the eyes, ears, nostrils, mouth, genitals, and rectum. So, those gates are living being, engages with the sense objects like form and taste. The eyes, nostril, and the mouth are the eastern gates situated in the front. The right and the left ears are the southern and northern gates, represented respectively. The genitals and rectums are the western gates. I have already explained some of this, but let us go through it again. The gates Khadyuta and Avirmukhi are the two eyes, while the town Vibhajita is firm, which the eye sees. The two doors, Nalini and Nalini, are the nostril, and the city of Saurabha is aroma. Puranjana, uh, companion for visiting Surabha is Avaduta, which means most free and referred to the sense of smell since it depends on air which can move without restriction. The gate called Mukhya is the mouth. The Puranjana companions for venturing forth through this gate are Vipana, the voice, and Rasagna, the sense of taste. Accompanied by Vipavana, Puranjana goes to the city known as Apana, speech. Accompanied by the Rasagna, he goes to the city known as Bahudana, varieties of food. The Pitruhu gate is the right ear and Devahu the left. The city of Dakshina Panchala and Uttara Panchala, which Puranjana visited through these gates, are the scriptures encouraging material enjoyment and liberation, respectively. Through hearing, one can achieve either of these goals. The city of Gramka is meant for sexual pleasure, which is attractive to foolish, low class men. It is reached via the lower gate called Asuri, the genital. Ranjana traveling, accompanying when he goes through this gate in Durmada, which literally means wrongly directed and referred to infatuation. Prachin Bhari said, "You say that infatuation is misdirected. I admit that I I am enamored of my queen. Is that condemned, or are you referring to adulterous feeling? Our love is meant for Krishna, my dear king, but because you have forgotten him, your love is misdirected to your queen. Still you are frustrated, are you not? Either neither you nor your queen are happy. Why? Because you have misplaced your love. It is like trying to nourish a plant by watering the leaves and branches. The plant will die for it to thrive. You must water the root. Similarly, for you and your dependents to be happy, you must direct your love to Krishna. Prachin Bhari dropped his gaze. It was true. True, he loved his wife and she loved him. They experienced frustration in their relationship. She spent so much time in the sulking room. He too was dissatisfied. Why else was he performing so many sacrifices in hope of a better future? Narad said, "Please listen as I continue to explain the allegory, the literal meaning of nirti is destruction and it's referred to the rectum. When a sinful soul dies, he exits the body painfully via the rectum. Passing through the rectum, the living being goes to Vaish, Vaishashta, Vaishsa, accompanied by Lubdhaka. Vaishasa has a dual meaning, excretion and a place of slaughter. or in other words, hell. Lubdaka means greed or gluttony.
Any comments about the queen remaining in the room? What is it called? What room is it called? Sulking rooms. It's true, no? I mean, I keep saying about the statistics that only 30% of the women have a possibility of feeling somewhat fulfilled in their marriage and feel that the husband really understands them and they're so aligned to their needs and wants. Also for men, there is a little more than 30%, but also there is no fulfillment, right? The relationships are the most difficult. So even in King Rachina Bari's case, we're seeing that he's not really happy. You know, he can have anybody, any woman, but still he's controlled by the wife. I mean, either it's the wife or children or something, but we all have something that controls us. So yeah, I
Isn't it
find that
good?
to be very.
Isn't it good that if we get that all the compatibility and everything goes smooth, then who gonna remember Krishna?
Remember what? Sorry, if the compatibility is good,
Then who everything goes smooth, everything is all right, and like both are enjoying. Then who gonna remember Krishna?
so, well, the truth is the idea. You can argue the other way around also, because you can
Yeah.
say, oh, they're
No, at
compatible.
least there should be some kind of austerity. Otherwise, I mean, life is meant to be little bit sacrificial. I mean, say, it should be little bit struggle. If it is
I
too
mean, yes,
comfort and too cozy, then there is less chance to engage in devotional service. Like it should be like we should be yeah, artho atharthi jigyasu gyani. Yeah, we should be in these category. Otherwise, it's difficult.
well, yes. At the same time, we could argue the other way around, saying so much time is wasted in this relational arguments. If only we had more compatibility, we would perform devotional service more peacefully. We would have not this kind of conflicts, and we would feel more, harmony to do service together. We would both agree on the similar things, and we would be able to do more service. So I'm just saying that you can argue either ways, but the point is,
Yeah,
it doesn't depend on uh, compatibility. Ultimately, it depends on our desire, because you could have great
true.
compatibility and have material desire and be doomed. Could have very bad compatibility and have separate desires, which will tear your marriage apart and which will make your marriage very miserable. But if Krishna is the center, with compatibility, you'll serve Krishna. Without compatibility, you'll take shelter of Krishna. So the point is, you can argue both ways, but the truth is somewhere in the middle, meaning the truth is dependent on your intention and consciousness, what you want to do with the compatibility. I often compare good compatibility to kitchen. Okay, you may have an excellent kitchen, that's a good compatibility, but will you really cook for Krishna? Will you really do the thing? Or you can say that, oh, if we have good compatibility, we can make so many nice dishes for Krishna, like that. It's true, but you may also burn everything and waste everything, even if you have a great kitchen. So it depends on your cooking ability. So it depends on your character. It depends on your intentions, like that. So it's, I'm just saying, we can't always say, we cannot make a sweeping statement that every bad marriage is good for Krishna consciousness. And we cannot say that every good marriage will be bad for Krishna consciousness. It depends. Some good marriages can lead to harmony and good connection with family, and some may not. So,
True, very true.
So I'm not sure if Rasasali Mataji is able to read today.
Affirmation. Yeah, she will mention
Not well.
she is not well.
Please skip that